let's see. So you can see they chipped off all the bad places and just kind of covered it up. I think for us, it's going to look just fine.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Never Say Never Refit. Captain Matt here. We're glad to be able to get this project up and running and think we're making some pretty good progress. And on this episode, I head back up to the boatyard to check in and see how the progress has been going. We're pretty pleased and think they're doing some neat things up there. And hopefully we get it wrapped up soon so we can get back on the water and start getting some fishing done. So stay tuned for this episode of Never Say Never.
Well, howdy everybody, welcome back. We are on the way to the boatyard to check out some things, see how they're doing, see how the progress is going on Never Say Never. Catch up a little bit on the refit there and redoing. We got a call this morning, or yesterday I guess. We'll see if I've done anything this morning on it, but we got two new batteries. They're really nice batteries, big batteries. 8D I think is the size. The other ones were kind of old and had failed, and so we had to replace them. And we had a charger in there, and one of the things that I asked them to check on was I didn't feel like that charger was charging those batteries. In other words, when I would go down to the boat and start it up, if I looked at the voltmeter when I was starting it up, it was pretty low, down around 11.5 or something like that, and it ought to be up there around 13. And so I felt like that battery charger that we had was not able to charge up those batteries. That my understanding of the batteries we got is they're like 200 amp hours each, so they're big, heavy duty, deep cycle batteries. They're able to start the boat, turn over those diesel motors and start the boat, and then they're able to handle the long drain that's put on it by radar and sonar and the chart plotter and lights and everything else that we may be running while the boat's operational. The live well pump, and there's a lot of stuff that runs off that 12 volt battery while we're underway. Now some of that is recharged, or while we're running, the alternators will provide that, but if we turn the motors off, if we do other things anyway. So the batteries were not charging when it was on shore power, and I think that the best way to maintain a battery is to keep it, or to charge it and then kind of keep it charged with a trickle charger. I think that's the best way to keep these batteries over time. They're expensive, not as expensive as lithium batteries, but still pretty expensive. So anyway, we're going to go and check on that. So what they're doing is they're putting in a new 100 amp hour battery charger.
It's 100 amp, not 100 amp hour. It's just 100 amp.
Which ought to solve that. So that means that they can charge at 50 amps each. And so theoretically from dead, it could charge those batteries in a couple of hours, which I don't think we'll ever run them to dead, but anyway, it has the capability of charging that. I've been doing some research. I found a thing on it, a graph sheet, which taught me well, I didn't learn it, I didn't read it all, but I know there's math behind that. The other thing that I think we're going to do, and hopefully we get to film them do this today, is they're going to go and run. So we want to clean out and make sure that the cooling system is working flawlessly. So what the guys are supposed to do is they're going to hook up some hoses through the water circulation system, and they're going to run a cleaner through it, a barnacle buster type cleaner, and get out all the goo from inside the water circulation system. And that ought to be good. They're also going to replace all the zinc anodes in the motors and that kind of stuff. But hopefully we get there in time to see them do that, how they do all that. That'll be kind of fun to watch, I think. And then the other thing they're supposed to have done by now is they're supposed to have ground down some places on the bottom. You know, we decided to just not to completely water blast the bottom. I appreciate everybody's feedback that I got. We're not going to water blast the bottom completely. We're simply going to grind down the areas that were a little bit suspect, and then just paint everything back. So we'll see how far along they've come in that process. The boat's been up here almost 2 weeks. You know, it's not exactly going as rapidly as I would have liked. They've already changed the oil and the filter, and they've done a lot of that stuff, which is good. They're supposed to be starting to go through the generator now. So I'm going to inspect all that and see what all they've done, and hopefully we're in good shape with all of that. So we'll be there in a few minutes and we'll go check everything out. All right, so here we are. It looks like they've already gotten a coat of the black on there. Let's see. So you can see they chipped off all the bad places and just kind of covered it up. I think for us, it's going to look just fine. You know, they ground down where they needed to, and it looks like they've just gotten one coat on there. I'm sure they're going to go on with a lot thicker. Now I think they're here doing the treatment. You can see they descaled all of that stuff, which is good. They got all the barnacles scraped off, everything like that. And that's good. They haven't done that work yet, but I'm sure they'll get to it shortly. I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing on this side. Looks like we're using an Interlux paint, I think. Let's see what this paint can says. Interlux something or other. Interlux makes great paint. All right, so this is the starboard side. Still got to put that screen on there. It looks pretty good. That's where they have that shore power hooked up. I wonder if they've got that new battery charger installed. I don't know. Let's see, Micron CSC. That's the Interlux paint. Their Interlux paint they're using. Man, I'm really looking forward to getting this boat back in the water and getting going. Okay, we've climbed up here on the boat, and we've got the W.W. Williams guys on here, and they are flushing the motors right now. So look, if you can see down in there, I think you can see him. Hey man, what's going on down there?
Much. So what we got going on is we have some barnacle buster in the bucket itself, mixed with regular clear water, fresh water. And what we're doing is we hooked it up to where the inlet of the salt water goes in, and the outlet of the salt water goes out to the exhaust. So that means that we're covering the whole salt water system right now. And we're actually pumping it from the back to the front. So we're back flushing it. That way we don't have anything going further in. We're just taking everything back out. This one is not too terribly dirty. We start off with clear water. The barnacle buster is blue. Once it starts going through, you just see a bunch of dirt, and it seems to be turning a little bit of green. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
Well, great. And the idea is that will flush any barnacles or any other kind of contaminants out of the system.
That's right. Any of the cores that are inside of these coolers, they're getting flushed out. Any kind of crud that's in there is getting flushed out. Barnacles or whatever might be in there.
All right. And so this takes, so you just started on this motor here?
Yep, we've had this running for about 30 minutes or so. You know, that's something that you just judge by looking at the water. Once I let it run for about an hour or so, I'll put more fresh water in there, and then I'll see how dirty it is coming back out.
And then you'll go to the other one.
And then I'll go to the other one and do the exact same thing over there.
Okay. Yep. All right, good. Now, does that, it doesn't look like it quite gets to the strainers over here. What will y'all do about that, if anything?
We'll clean the strainers out. So we'll just take everything off there, clean everything out real nice, and go from there. The only thing that we're not going to be going through is the pump itself. We're bypassing the pump because we don't want to ruin any of the seals that are in the pump, which that barnacle buster will get to it if you don't flush it.
Right. I think that they just put new impellers in there.
We just did, yep.
Yeah. And then what about my hoses? Did you look at the hoses? Like that's a hose right there. And then,
yeah, all the hoses actually look pretty good.
Yeah.
They feel really good. They look really good. The ends, they're not split or anything like that. So they all seem to do pretty good. None of them will collapse. I don't feel anything bad on them.
Okay. And you feel good about the hose clamps and everything else like that?
Once I get on that side, I'll inspect that side as well.
Okay. All right, great. Well, perfect, man. Okay, well, thanks.
No
These guys really know what they're doing. We're real happy with them, so thanks a lot. Okay, here we are. Well, look, we're changing out the zincs. See how he does that? We're taking them off. I guess they'll put new ones on after we paint.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so I feel like we've made some progress here. Things are happening. I think that went pretty well. I'm pleased with all that. I really like these guys up here. I think that they're doing good work. They're going reasonably fast. You know, I think you could always make it go a little bit faster, but you know, they've got other clients too. I mean, they've got a bunch of boats in there. You know, and they all got something going on. They have just so many staff members and they have to move those guys around. But so I feel like they're moving reasonably fast. It's also why I come up here a bunch. You know, they know, well, if they know that you're gonna come, you're not gonna be a pest or anything, but you're just gonna come and see what's going on, then you know, it's awfully hard for, if you make the trip all the way up here and then for them to say, well, we haven't done anything since the last time you were here. Well, you know, that doesn't, I don't know, I would think that'd be an awkward position to be in. So I think it's a good thing to let them know that you're coming just to see what's going on. But I really, really like these guys, and they're easy to talk to. They make time to talk a little bit to me, you know, and just like while there was 3 or 4 people wanting to talk. I mean, you know, so they're busy, which I think is good. But I thought the bottom paint looked pretty good. You know, I asked them to check on one little other place that I saw that didn't look all that awesome to me, but he said he would. So they're going to do that. And then what else? The charger is on order and should be here shortly. Glad we're replacing that charger. And then what else did they do? I need to send him an email to tell him I want the old charger, which I will do. And then that engine flush was pretty cool how he was doing that. You know, frankly, just seeing that water coming out of there makes me feel pretty good, because it wasn't, I mean, it was some dirty in there, but it wasn't like it was clogged up or gooey or yucky or gummy or all that. So I'm really glad that we did it that way. There was another way that we could have done it that was going to be a lot more involved, which would involve like taking everything apart. And I talked about it with the W.W. Williams guy this morning. He's like, man, I think that doing this flush would just be okay. So I think that was the better solution. I think it was probably also cheaper. We're spending more. We did not have in the budget a battery charger, and this battery charger is expensive, like really expensive in my little scale of the world anyway, but a lot more than I would think, really probably about 10 times more than I would think that you would spend on a battery charger. And I looked it up online too, so they're not gigging me on the price. This is what they cost. So being able to save money on the other way that we were going to do it is we were going to take the heat exchangers off and go like do a power flush on them or something like that. So by doing it this way, I think it's easier on it. And you heard the guy say on camera too that we don't get it up in there where there's any seals or gaskets or anything like that, because because that chemical would kind of hurt those. So I think we're doing that the right way. These guys at W.W. Williams know what they're doing. And he said the motor's okay, the oil looked okay. That's great. They're going to get to work on the generator. So I don't know, you know, maybe by next week we'll be able to run that boat back down to St. Simons. We shall see. But anyway, I hope this wasn't too boring for you guys, this little quick update on the Bertram. Pretty soon we'll be riding around. So headed back down to St. Simons. See you later.